Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to High Trust Coaching Live. I am Hope Mormon. I am the Divisional President for High Trust Coaching, and I have with us today our very own CEO and founder of High Trust, Todd Duncan. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning, Hope, and good morning, everybody. Good to be with you guys this fine Wednesday.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun. So I'm so excited. So today we're going to be discussing principle number 2 of Todd's ebook, The 5 Irrefutable Principles of High-Performing Mortgage and Real Estate Professionals. Todd, in your first statement in principle number 2, I'm just going to jump right in. So it says that if you own in totality principle number 1, that everything can be improved, principle number 2 supports the action to make principle number 1 work. Could you elaborate on that for us?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks guys for joining every week and every Wednesday. We try to endeavor to give you ideas that'll make a difference in your business and life. And I think this 5 principles idea that we put together a couple months ago is really solid. So principle number 1 is, well, first of all, let's just start with the word irrefutable to make sure everybody understands that. Irrefutable means it cannot be challenged. It cannot be altered. It cannot be proven wrong. Irrefutable means it is right, it is truth, and it will always be truth. And so therefore, then, I think the idea for mortgage and real estate professionals is to orient whatever actions they take, whatever methods they may use around the principles. The author of The Science of Getting Rich talks about the idea that there is a certain way to do things. So if everything can be improved, then your job, my job, everybody's job is to decide, what do I want to improve? And that could be a lifetime of things, right? So we want to narrow it, like, what do I want to improve that will give me the greatest ROI for the amount of time I invest in that improvement? Okay, so that's kind of the idea. God knows there's a million things we can all do better, right? So it's not this overarching statement that you have 126 things that you need to improve. That's probably true. It's probably the same for me, but we've got to really get good. I hope you know this in coaching. We try to isolate which actions and which behaviors and which habits give us the highest ROI. So here's where the tension, and it's a positive tension, but here's where the tension begins. I'll take you back to my days as a loan officer. I remember in the first couple of months that I had a milk route, so to speak. I had 26 real estate offices that I had to call on. And I remember in those first couple of weeks having a lot of fear about making those calls. I was never really taught how to make those calls and never really taught what to say when I make those calls. And I really wasn't set up for success. It was that sense of kind of, here's your desk, here's your phone. Good luck, Todd, you're on your own. That's kind of the deal. What I started realizing is that I had fear as I was approaching every single real estate office. So if everything can be improved, then what could be improved is the way my mind thinks in terms of when I'm approaching those offices, but also what have I done beforehand so I can take what would be a cold call until people got to know me and have it be a warm call so that when I approached that real estate office, it wasn't about anything except for the single individual that I had already orchestrated a meeting with. And so then when I approached, I didn't have any call reluctance whatsoever. I had call confidence. I had call excitement because I decided what to do, how to do it. I practiced it so I would do it. And I went from fear to faith. Faith is confidence in things not yet seen. Fear is that abstract, false expectations appearing real. So if we're going to improve everything, we have to have a super healthy attitude towards failure. So principle number 2 is success can only be built on failure. So the relationship, Hope, to your question is everything in number 1 that you and I, you guys chiming in as part of High Trust today, you want to improve. It is going to take a really healthy perspective around positivity, replacing that word fear with a better acronym, which could be, face everything and rise, or feeling excited and ready. I was actually feeling excited and ready to make those calls once I knew how to make them. If I had not figured out how to replace fear with faith, I probably would have had fear for a longer period of time. And the decision to not have fear meant I've got to do something differently. When we do something differently, we don't have confidence yet. And that leads to the third principle. We won't get into that today, maybe, but when I decide to improve something, I have to decide how to improve it. And then I have to decide how good I want to be at it before I try it. And then every time I try it, when it doesn't work, it's actually a lesson teacher. It's not a failure. And so failure and success are, they're right here. They're linked. You can't have one without. Yes. In fact, there's no such thing as success if there were not such a thing as failure.
Yes. Exactly, Todd. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was the relationship or the association that we have in our minds with regard to fear and failure, and how we can be thinking about that differently or have a different perspective on it that would obviously be more successful and obviously serve us a whole lot more.
Yeah. So let's see if we can kind of dance on this idea, right? Okay. So the only reason success has meaning is because lack of success also has meaning, and lack of success is typically referred to as failure. Failure is not a bad thing. If you see it badly, it's a bad thing. But if you see failure as a good thing, then you will understand the relationship between failure and success. But even more deeply than that, like if there were no such thing as hot, there'd be no such thing as cold. Those two things have to exist for either one of them to have meaning. Loud, soft, fast, slow, right? Those are the relationships. And so when we look at failure and success, we have to have an attitude that improving what we do is more important than how fast we get it done. And that's really the big idea. It wasn't like it's not like I made a bad sales call on Friday and all of a sudden Monday I made a great sales call. It was a process just like any new habit. But I will tell you this, and at Hope, leading our coaching company, if you don't have a healthy perspective around failure and you don't see it as a very positive force in growing success, then you won't take the risks and you won't make the attempts and you won't give it the time it needs to become a better habit. And when we get to principle three is where the X factor comes in. And if you don't master principle 2, you're not going to have the X factor that comes out of principle 3. All of these principles are linked. Number 1 has to be first. Number 2 has to be second. Number 3 has to be third. Number 4 has to be fourth. And then number 5 has to be fifth.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about, Todd, is that you discussed in principle number 2 that there is a certain mindset or 3 mindsets that a top performing real estate or mortgage professionals have. The 3 mindsets are failure is good, failure is positive, and failure is disruptive. Can you walk us through those 3 mindsets, Todd? We've lost. I can't hear you.
How's that?
That's better.
Let's keep it really simple.
Okay.
Failure is a mindset. So how is failure good? Failure is good because it teaches you that the wrong way is the right way because you'll learn a better way. That's why failure is good. So the faster we can fail and the faster failure can be adopted as positive, the faster we can disrupt our own life in a positive way and disrupt the marketplace. If we don't see failure as healthy, we will let fear edge its way in. And what fear does, Hope, is it pushes out courage. And so if we really understand success takes courage. It takes a disruptive mindset to learn how to do the things that most of the people that you would compete against, which starts with your own mind and then anybody else that might be in your market. It's disruptive when you can learn at a faster pace, you can scale at a faster pace, you can become consistent and competent at a accelerated pace. So the faster we get failure in this positivity mindset, the faster everything happens. And I think people miss that. And the one thing I'll say is the only time you will stop failing is when you stop trying, which is in itself a failure on its own. So you don't have a choice in this. You don't have a choice. If you've decided to be the best version of you possible, you have to embrace failure and you have to understand that it is the necessary ingredient for success. Now, stop for just a sec. You don't want to just fail to say you failed and keep going, right? It's like if I made a bunch of sales calls and somebody told me, your sales calls could be improved, and I kept making them without the improvement, I would see no change. But I may not fix the sales call the first time I go out and try to do it. That's why learning and repetition and the law of the dress rehearsal in high trust is so important, because the better we get at doing a thing, the easier doing that thing becomes, the more advantageous we will be in the marketplace, the more attractive we will be in the marketplace, the more in demand and the more confident we will be in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. Everything in life is an experiment, but the key here is let's not just roll the dice. For example, if I know that failure is a healthy attitude, then I want to plug in to like this ecosystem. I want to put a question out to the 2,000 people that are in high trust today, and I want to ask, I'm thinking about doing this. I know I'm probably not going to do it right the first time. Does anybody else have experience with this, and could you share? So when I was learning how to fly an airplane, I tell this story a lot. I was horrible at landing. And if you're going to be a pilot, you got to be good at landing. And it just took practice. It took practice. It took practice. It took practice. And I think it took me almost 70 landings. Some were beautiful. Some were ugly. Some were potentially near death. But what saved the day is I had a guy next to me that knew what he was doing. And so when you have somebody that has done what you're trying to do, it's called modeling, and you can model what they do and have a higher probability that what you attempt and what you try will be more successful more quickly. And that's why study, and that's why getting good and understanding compounding is so important, because every one of you, I hope every one of you watching this has access to everything you need to go wherever you want in life and business. And I think that's the healthy perspective around failure. I have found the difference between the mega income earners and the rest is their attitude towards failure, not whether they fail or not. It's their attitude towards failure. So it's just mindset. Mindset matters.
Yeah. Todd, you've touched on this a couple of times in this conversation, and I'm wondering if maybe you could talk to us a little bit more about that. Is when you come away from a sales meeting, or let's say it's a great sales meeting, you mentioned that you debrief yourself, and that you go through a debrief process, and on the premise and everything can be improved, and always looking to greatness. What does that conversation sound like for you? I mean, you've mentioned it a few times, and I'm wondering if you could talk to us a little bit more about what that conversation is when you're debriefing with yourself.
Well, so if everything can be improved, you never want to do one thing twice without having that conversation. It's like if landings can be improved, if sales calls can be improved, if a coaching session can be improved, if the amount of money I make per hour can be improved, then what I want the delta between when I decide that I accept that principle and the time I try to improve, not be years. I'd rather have it be like an hour, like I do it. And now I debrief and I have that conversation. So It always starts with positive. Positivity rules the day. What did I do right? What went right? When I landed my airplane yesterday, it was a little bit pitchy. I'm going to tell you right now, it was left wheel first, right wheel second. And I was a little crosswind crabbing down the runway. And so I get off the runway, and before I even taxi to the hangar, I'm going, okay, I didn't have the crosswind lined up the right way. I came in a little fast, and I came in a little steep. And I need to work on those three things next time. I got my knee pad on my knee in the cockpit, and I write down the three things. And then next time when I open my knee pad, it's like, okay, let's make sure those three things next time I land are right here. And I'll just tell you that the same is true with anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It's start with positivity. You want to anchor the things that work, because those are the things that keep you going. Then the question is, what's one thing I could do better? And then how do I do it better? And let's get that in our head before we go about our business, because a lot of people don't stop long enough to do that analysis, Hope. And it's not like if it takes 5 minutes to do something, it doesn't take 5 minutes to analyze it. It takes like a minute. And so what went right? What went wrong? What am I going to do differently next time? And that's it. And then it's like, okay, if I just got like 1% better every 2 weeks at having conversations with borrowers. I would be 2% better every single month. I would be 24% better at the end of the year. And it didn't take this like cataclysmic, stars colliding with the universe to say you've arrived. It was a process. It was a process, and success is a process. I remember Zig Ziglar used to, a good friend of mine, I think he's been gone probably 8 years or so, but he used to say this line, he used to say, prospecting is like taking a bath. If you don't do it every day, pretty soon you stink. And I think what success,
I love that.
No, it's so funny. What success is let's do something repeatedly, but let's not let repeatedly wrong become the habit. Let's repeat it and just have that moment. What went right? What went wrong? What changes am I going to make next time? And then next time it should be better. And the time after it should be better. In just a little bit over a year can be massive improvements. But far too often we don't have that. We don't have that analysis. I want to say one more thing. And when you fail, give yourself grace. It's really easy to be too hard on yourself. Failure is a very good thing. Failure will expedite all of your success. So don't fear it, love it, embrace it, and don't make the same mistake twice if you can avoid it.
Right. Thank you for that, Todd. Is when we fail, we'll give ourselves grace, because I think we have a tendency to bring down the hammer, right? And so thank you for reminding us to give ourselves some grace when we fail. Todd, in your book, High Trust Selling, the law of the dress rehearsals talks about practicing, or states that practicing your lines elevates the level of your performance. What does being game ready mean?
Game ready is whatever is going to happen in the world in which you live. And that could be live personally, live as a business professional, live as a husband, live as a game ready is when the lights go on, when it's time to perform, and feel the confidence that you're going to be able to execute. It still doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but game ready says that when opportunity arises, I am ready, not the other way around. When opportunity arises, if I got to get ready, I'm going to miss. And so an example, we were in Colorado 2 weeks ago. We had our elite coaching members there in Colorado, and you remember this, but we were talking about, the state of the real estate industry. We're talking about multiple offers. We're talking about how to get your offer recognized and how to get it accepted. And for a lot of guys and gals in elite, they were doing things that worked, but they weren't doing everything that worked. And so as a result of our time there, we did some brainstorming around video. We did some brainstorming around, how do you allow the offer to be seen in a unique and different way, perhaps even a digital kind of production, and so on and so forth. And that was new for guys and gals in elite, because the business is asking us right now. There's so much business because inventory is low and we got to win the day. The time to get ready is I got to have that figured out. So what one of the guys did is he said, here's what my agent and I do. And we do it via text. We want to make the handoff between the agent and myself seamless and fast and ready to go. And so we put that whole thing together. And then I got a video this weekend from that guy. And he said, Tom Sherman said, using the video process to get our offer accepted, we've done $3 million in business over the weekend. That's 2 days. That's $3 million in new loans over the weekend, because he figured out how to do a 30-second video. And it was, by his own definition, it was a little rocky. The second one was a little bit better. The third one was even better. And by the time he had done 10 videos, he thought he was pretty good at doing videos to get offers recognized. And so that's kind of the process, I think. It's just game ready is, it's just go back to the airplane. I better be ready to land.
Yeah.
I cannot not be ready to land. I cannot not be ready to make a call. I cannot not be ready to handle an objection. I cannot not be ready to handle conflict or tension. I cannot be ready to compete at a high level with other lenders and to, make my value prop. Game ready means you're ready, and practice. I told my youngest son this. My youngest son had his band had their first concert last Friday night. And I told him, I said, I've been telling him since he was 8 years old If you practice more than you play, when you play, you will look like you've practiced. And the other way around is true, right? If you don't practice more than you play, when you play, you will look like you haven't practiced. That's game ready.
That's game ready. That's
game
it. That's it right there. And it's so true. And I think that, so many of us don't invest that time in ourselves, and that's an investment in ourselves to be game ready. I know that when I first learned this from you, Todd, I recorded myself, and I took it very seriously. I recorded myself. I repeated it. So, and my motivation was, if somebody gave me an objection, I needed to be game ready to respond to that objection, not to cower away, not to say nothing or not, or whatever those things were. I was going to be game ready for that objection. And if someone threw me a new objection that I hadn't heard before, that afternoon I would write, I would go into Mortgage Mastery Club and I would find scripting to be able to address that objection, so that when that came up again, I would have something to respond to. So,
So let me just
go ahead, please.
Let me just dive in for a sec. So self-inventory is really critical based on what Hope just said. The idea of learning, growing, and getting better and having your best version of you emerge doesn't happen because you wish it to life. Does not happen because the stars align. You get what you get because you're ready to go to the next level. And so I would just say, because we can always get better, principle number one, and because it requires a healthy attitude towards failure, you've got to be looking at, where have I lost whatever by not being game ready? And this idea of overtraining, this idea of over practicing and role playing, this idea of just even having the radar to see visually the kind of that aha moment, like, wow, that did not go like I wanted it to go. It's okay. What am I going to do differently next time? And what are the ahas, and what are the personal observations? And we are a human organism, and we are designed for greatness. We're designed for success. We're designed to stay alive. We're designed to be above the ground. We're designed for greatness. And Zig Ziglar wrote this beautiful book, Born to Be Great. And so I think the beautiful thing, Hope, is we're never done. So here's what I would do. I would say to all of you watching this, between now and the end of Q2, what is it that you want to get game ready for? Where do you want to be a level 10 in the business in terms of skill sets? Where do you see that there is a delta between where you are and where you could be? And to be okay with being a 7 instead of beating yourself up because you're not a 10. 7's a lot better than a 6 or a 5 or a 4, right? If you're a newbie and you're a 1, that's okay. It's better than 0. And you have this incredible way to go and grow. And I think people need to understand that we are one big experiment. That's all we are as humans. But the deal is insanity, that age-old phrase, right? You're doing the same thing, expecting different results. We're designed to grow. And you cannot grow if you don't keep your eye on, where am I not game ready? Because chances are, if I'm not game ready there, it's either I know it and I haven't gotten game ready, I know it and I'm afraid to get game ready, or I don't know it, so obviously I'm not game ready. All three of those can be changed. You can change those.
Right. And what do I need to, I would imagine it also has to include, what do I need to learn? If I'm not game ready because I don't know what to do.
Well, it's you cannot do until you learn. Yeah. Okay. So I can't, if I have never studied how to do something, okay, chances are if I go out and try and do it, I'm going to fail. Like if I don't read the basics on airplane navigation, if I don't read that and I go out and I try to navigate, I'm going to fail. But if I read that and then I go out and try to navigate that, I understand thrust, I understand drag, I understand lift, I understand weight. If I understand that, then I can go do it. But if I don't understand it, and so it leads to this idea that thought without action is useless. Action without thought is dangerous. So you got to do both of those. You got to study, and then you got to practice, and then you got to do. Then you got to study, practice, do. Study, practice, do. And when I was 23 years old, Earl Nightingale stated that one of the formulas for success was to study your art for an hour a day. And if you studied your art, your business, for an hour a day, every single day, and whatever that would include, you study for an hour, in 3 years, you'll be in the top 10% of the industry that you're in. And I think that is like the opportunity, especially coming out of just a monster season, with huge loan volumes and low interest rates. I think a lot of our skills have gotten soft and maybe even rusty, and we got to kind of break the rust off and kind of oil up some of our strategy and get it back kind of going. So, but what's the alternative to growing is dying.
Yeah. Yes.
Financial
Absolutely.
death, physical death, psychological death, marital death. I mean, stop growing, you're dead. It's just a matter of which part goes dead first.
So absolutely, so powerful, Todd. Thank you so much. So the last thing I wanted to ask you is to, if you would, and this is kind of a curveball. So, but you're the pro.
Ready.
How would you complete this sentence? The key to greatness is
commitment.
Commitment.
Yeah, commitment. I think commitment goes a long way to getting you through the peaks and valleys. And I think people that aren't committed take shortcuts, and I think they suffer setbacks. And I've had a lot of setbacks in my life. I've had a lot of setbacks, and every one of them has required commitment. In our family, we talk about that word being grit. That success requires grit. And, I just did a podcast that's going out tomorrow with a friend of mine who, just short of a miracle, is probably going to pass away in a month or two. And, he's 46 years old, grew up in the mortgage business, followed high trust, financially free, which was a good piece of news, knowing that he was going to be battling for his life. And he's been battling pancreatic cancer for 6 years. And the idea that he's still above ground, he told me the other day, is I got grit and I got motivation. I don't want to die. I'm prepared to die. I have no regrets, but I'm not ready. And I'm going to give it everything I can. And he's got a countdown clock because he wants to make it to Cooperstown to see his 2 sons play baseball in 141 days. So every day he's got that's grit.
And that took a lifetime of development.
Yep.
That commitment and that grit.
Yep.
And it's serving him now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That's wonderful. That's amazing. So for our coaching members, I did want to, kind of just throw a little in there for those of you that are coaching with High Trust. Thank you for being the very best part of High Trust coaching. If you are not, I highly encourage you to schedule a free coaching consultation, talk to one of our consultants, learn everything coaching, everything you need to know. And so I guess the last question I'm going to ask you, Todd, is when you're thinking about coaching, what would be the thing that would motivate you to move into coaching when you first started getting coaching? What is that decision that you made?
Well, the decision that I made was I want to be my best. And my mentor said, if you want to be your best, you've got to invest. And I will tell you this right now, I've spent over $1 million on coaching, personal coaching. I've spent over $1 million on personal coaching, and I think we've probably generated $140 million in sales. And I can tell you right now that that's because I agree and I have embraced the idea that I can't get better without somebody helping me get better. I can read, great. I can study, great. I can go to seminars, great. I can do all that. Okay. But if I don't have somebody guiding me, if I don't have somebody presenting the guardrails, if I don't have somebody giving me some boundaries, I will not be my best version of myself. And what I like to tell people is you lose more in a day than coaching costs you in a month until you have this figured out. And the ROI on coaching is superior to any other dollar you would ever invest, whether you're investing in cryptocurrency, the stock market, even if you're investing in real estate. The best investment you and I can make is an investment that we make in ourselves, because we can 2, 3, 4, 5x who we are and what we become. I mean, we watch people right now. I talked to somebody the other day, that is averaging 3 days a week, made shy of $5 million last year, and is a loan professional that is probably in the top 0.25% of professionals in terms of capacity and aptitude and all of that. He's been getting coached by us for 10 years. He's not going to stop because it works. So come join us. I mean, be part of this. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing culture in high trust coaching. I hope you've done a marvelous job helping people win, including our coaches who are faculty members who give their time to help people like real estate agents and loan officers and managers win. So you got to invest in you. There's no shortcut. There is no shortcut to success.
No shortcut. Exactly. And I think that's the decision, is you just kind of come to this place where you're thinking, I could be right where I am now a year from now, or I can do something different, engage and participate and commit to coaching and actively engage in it and have a completely different world.
Well, I think the thing that everybody understands, this is not a sales pitch. It's just, you want to be your best. The reason you're watching this is because you want to be your best. The reason why you study the business is because you want to be your best. And we're never, ever done, even though we become great. I mean, our greatness fuels the next part of our vision. And I have never had a coaching call in 30 years of being coached professionally, and I've never had a coaching relationship. I go all the way back to my Little League coach at age 7. I've never had a coaching relationship where I haven't learned something, and that something is big. And so there's no risk in having a free coaching call. It's 30 minutes that could change your life and change your family's life. It's simple.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Todd. It's always so exciting to have you with us, and you will be with us every month, at least the first of the month every month. So yay. And have everyone joining us today. Have a great day. Make it a great week. And we'll see you next Wednesday.